Hi, this is a quick video tutorial on Shape for importing background images that you can use as a reference for your modeling in the render module and in the 3D module. For that, we click on our default group, and then to import the image, we are going to click on this little import observed image eye, which opens this image property dialog. Here you can select an image from your file system. Here in our case we're going to use a PNG formatted background image. FITS files can be written but cannot be read. So let's load this PNG file. Here you go. By default it fills the whole image as it is. But if it only covers a particular region, you can select this region for the image by providing the minimum and maximum coordinates of the corners. So for example, we can go from -80 to 80 and from -70 to +90. And then our location of the image will change as well as the scaling. You can change the transparency, the visibility of the image here, transparency, of course also here in our transparency without transparency button at the top. But you can also add modifiers to it that will further transform the image, such as you add them by clicking on the add button here in the dialog. For example, inverting the image will change the image itself. You can do zooming in the different coordinates. Don't go negative. If you lock them, both will go the same way. Right? Okay, delete that one. You can also rotate it. That works properly only if your image has a square number of pixels. That is, the length and width, the height and width of the image in terms of pixels is the same, otherwise you will get distortions. So make sure your images are square in terms of pixels. And so on. So you can also do further processing in terms of the grayscaling. For example, change to square root. And it's best if it's not inverted. Something like that. So you can further process your data to better see some of the details, or you can stop it from auto scaling, just like the rendered images. And you apply and you have this in here. Okay, that's about it for this. And there's a slight difference, or some details are more important for the PV diagrams though. Same process, click on the eye, load your image or PV diagram. Can be any of the normal file formats for images except FITS, of course. Now here it is very important to exactly place these numbers to place your image, and it is highly recommended to do this with square images too. Let's see what happens if it is not square, as in this case. We want the image, let's see, this image originally is already square. It has its tick marks. Let's say the central tick marks is at 0 velocity, centered on the center of the nebula, and the second larger tick mark in velocity is 50 kilometers per second. That is, every smaller tick mark is 10 kilometers per second. So what we need to do is adjust the scale, the horizontal scale, such that the 50-kilometer mark is on 50 kilometers. We don't have a tick mark for 50 kilometers here, so we want to get one. We do that by right-clicking on the image, on the PV diagram, select Properties. This opens this dialog, which in turn allows to change the tick marks, increase the numbers. We keep nice numbers. Now this is confusing, so we look at the labels and change this format. So we have only integer numbers. So now we have our 50 kilometers mark here. We can actually reduce the range of this in the group. Instead of 400, we set it to 200, and our 50 is gone again. So let's see if we go back to 5. Okay, now we have it. Our 50 kilometers per second. Now our larger tick mark should coincide with that. If you know exactly what the corners of your image are in terms of kilometers per second, you just set them in here. But then you need the outer corners of your actual image, which is not the margin of the actual PV diagram. And here we have a white space to make it square. Okay, now we can then do two things. We can use the modifier to, what was the difference, resize. Oh no, this is not right. Okay, no, forget it. This is, we can use these. We have the minimum in vertical to be minus 100 plus 100, and then we will go and scale our PV diagram horizontally such that it is exactly where we want it. Say about there. So let's say 200 minus 200, 400. This is not very this is a very manual process, and we should increase our image here so we can see better what's going on. Right click, Properties, General, move up, change this to 512, the plot area, so we have higher resolution and can see where our tick marks are. Now it's not too bad to start. So let's move this. Now it's roughly centered, so we need to increase the size more. So this is about the right scaling. Okay, almost there. How about that? There you go. That's roughly centered, and the larger tick marks are at 50 kilometers per second. There are many ways of doing this. If you know precisely what the dimensions of your image is, as I say, then you can just plug in these numbers and there you are. Okay, that's the way you get your background images. You can also make this one bigger, of course, so they are the same. Okay, now you will have to match the image to the PV diagram or vice versa in your spatial direction. You can do this again here using the image. Let's say, since they're centered, let's use the same here. So that's pretty much there. Let's check using here this x coordinate and the horizontal line on the slit. Let's change the color of the slit so we can see it better. There. Now we use the move, place our crosshair down here. That's about right, almost right. Yeah. These actually have nothing to do with each other, so it's quite just a coincidence that they kind of fit here. But in principle, your image has to be bigger. So you can adjust this. Check again. Your horizontal line here, here, go down. There you are. That's how you can calibrate your background images. Now you can have a look at them in the 3D module. Let's say here you click on the render image, which you use as a reference, then go to properties, right click on it, properties, and then select the background observed, and there should be your background image. If you change the transparency here by clicking on transparency and then move your cursor. Okay, the transparency here doesn't change here. We use the properties dialog. Scene alpha should, nope, it cannot be changed in this newer version. Okay, anyway, now you have your background image here and can build your object with the background as a reference. If you like, invert it so it doesn't, the white background doesn't affect you so much. So that's better. And off you go for modeling this object. Thank you.